Once you've accessed the information for Unit 2, Activity 4, the instructions for today are to read the student handout, which is this one, called Talking Law, Human Rights, Student Handouts with Cases. So your first step is to read the student handout. And that's this handout here. So you need to read the entire handout. It will eventually load. And then the first Google form is called Human Rights Law in Ontario. You are going to use the terms that are at the top of this Human Rights Law in Ontario handout to fill in the Google form entitled Human Rights Law in Ontario. This one. So you can see for each question there's either a checklist or a drop-down menu for you to choose an answer to that question. And we'll take these up at the end of the activity. This is what the form looks like. So those two parts, read the PDF Talking Law, answer the fill in the blanks and drop down menu items on the Google form entitled Human Rights Law in Ontario. Your next activity is to open the document that says open and highlight with read and write. If you cannot access read and write, and some people have expressed some concern with that, all you have to do is write down a list of terms that you recognize from this document that have to do with human rights. So if I'm going to use the highlighting tool and pick yellow, that means if I find a word like harassment, I'm going to highlight that word in yellow. After I have done collecting all the words, and some words repeat, you might see them twice, I am going to click the Collect Highlights button to find how many of the different terms in this document that I found. So your second part of this activity is to open up this document, the case summaries, and either highlight the terms or just write them down, and we'll take those up after. Your final activity is to open the final Google form entitled About Human Rights in Ontario and answer to the best of your ability. So About Human Rights in Ontario, and answer to the best of your ability the questions on this form. So they are a series of cases, and what you have to do is pick whether it's violence or harassment or one of the other enumerated grounds, and you'll find out what those enumerated grounds are when you read through the document. So, to review, for this activity, you are to read the Talking Law Human Rights Student Handout. Next, you are to complete the Human Rights Law in Ontario drop-down Google form. Third, you are to open the document entitled Open and Highlight with Read and Write and circle the terms or highlight the terms or write the terms down that you recognize from the terms for today's lesson. And the last form is the form that you are going to use to think about some case studies or discussion scenarios. Excellent. If you have any questions, please send me a private chat, but that is our lesson for today.